away and see, the backdrop behind you, guys have the playoff hats on.
Yeah.
Does it feel like a pretty hard switch to playoff mode?
No, I don't think so. It's been building for a while here. It does feel different though. It's so much more intense, and it's also quite a bit easier. Like your day becomes more structured. You're not finished with one team and moving on to the next. There's no problem getting everybody's attention. There's no drama at this time of year. It's just excitement about the series starting. So it's fun to come to the rink.
On that one team, you guys have such a long history with the Lightning. You played each other a lot during the year, starting in the preseason. Good matchups with them this year. At this point of the year, do you take anything from past experiences, or is this all kind of a fresh start when you start a playoff round?
Oh, I'm sure both. There's a history between the two teams, and it's been exciting. And then there's the fresh start. So what's happened in the past matters not. Except if you can find some good in that, you're pushing that too. So, yeah, the history and momentum get rewritten every time the puck drops. You get to reinvent yourself, and that's true of players. It's true. You have a bad shift, you go out and have a good one, right? You lose a game, you got to get off the mat, and you got to find a way to win another one. So it'll be exciting.
You guys return a lot of guys who were part of that run last year to the final, that bulk of the core. Just how much can you guys take away from what you've learned about what it takes to get to a final, having so many guys who went through it, and and how much more equipped do you feel like you guys are going into the playoffs this year, having that experience?
Well, there's a value to it, but it doesn't change the fact that you have to live through what's next. So, yeah. We had 3 good playoff series. We were down in a couple. We got a lead in a couple. We won 3, lost 1. So you get to learn some things, but then the new one, you got to reinvent yourself in some ways. You've got to renew yourself in some ways. And when it gets to be hard, or you get behind, or you get down, when the adversity that every team faces in the playoffs comes, you draw on that experience. But you still have to go through it, right? You still have to produce.
Coach, talk about the stars on both sides, but if you could comment on the Lundell line and the importance of the matchups that you anticipate for the Lundell line in this series.
Well, they were really I was going to say quietly important. It wasn't quiet. They were very important to our game last year. They were critical. And a year later, so there was a lot new for that line. Luosterainen had been a 4th-line center, had moved into the top 9 for the first time. Lundell actually kind of just coming into his second full year pro in that job. And by the end of the year, they were critical for us. They could take faceoffs on our own end. Reinhardt played there as a right-hand shot, really good faceoff man. 2 now of that line are penalty killers for us, both Lundell and Luosterainen. So they provide a certain amount of safety for us. They can play against the other team's best, and we won't ask them to do it every shift all night, but they can. And Lundell, in the course of the end of this season, is there something in that row, you think? Okay. If you start coughing, everybody's going to vacate that role. Lundell's season, he's kind of taken off. Once I think Rodriguez went there after the trade for Tarasenko that made that possible. That line's going now. They'll be. Yeah, probably to say that if you can win a series, at some point each line, each D pairing, each goal is going to have to make a difference. It's going to have to be the difference in one game, and we feel they're in pretty good shape to do that.
Aaron Ekblad back out there. Is he ready to go?
Ready to go. One? Yes. He would have played last game had it been a playoff game. But we just didn't see there was a point to it. We had enough healthy, strong defensemen in that game that we were in good shape.
With all the things that he played through last year, how important is it? I don't know how healthy the man is, but he looks at, how important is it if he is healthy going into this?
Well, really important, right? He was playing with, I think, 5 different injuries. So he's got a long runway. He's got lots of room to get hurt and play. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of that going on, and that's part of the learning process that you go through about what players are willing to sacrifice for each other. Broken bones, lots of muscle tears, separated shoulders, ankle sprains. Those are the hard things, and that's not the bruises and all the stuff that every player carries. But it really sets a standard. I believe that sets a standard going forward of what players are willing to do and a trust between them that they're willing to sacrifice.
How
But
different
just-
is, sorry, you again.
This is a series where obviously special teams could
Yep.
play an important role. Just in general, is the most important thing right now getting the power play going? Is it staying out of the box? I mean, what is the most important thing right now to make sure special teams positively impact
Yeah,
the series?
because any one of those can be such a critical factor. I don't know if we would use the word priority in there because we can't have one. We have to stay out of the penalty box. Style of game says that, the teams that we play, there's a fair amount of penalties that are called in the game. It's physical. We can't be casual about the penalties that we take. There can't be the penalties that are taken have to be kind of certainly not premeditated. We've got to be smart about our sticks, the things that we can control. There's going to be penalties that can't be controlled. A change in direction and a stick gets in somebody's feet, a reach in that gets a little high, but after that, we have to be very mindful of staying out of the penalty box. They've got the best power play in the league, and they know it, and they work hard to get there. And then our penalty kill is the piece of our game that's improved the most over last season, so we're going to need it to be good.
How different is the approach or the feel right now in that, at this time last year, you were playing the greatest team in the history of the free world?
Yeah.
And this year, everybody's kind of expecting you guys to be the favorite.
Yeah. Well, completely different in that, I think both teams had a pretty good idea that they were going to be in the playoffs. I think both teams come in with the exact same amount of confidence, right? They've won 2 Stanley Cups in an Eastern Conference in the last 4 years. I would suggest they should be a pretty confident team based on that. We had a good playoff run last year, and then from that, we've had a pretty solid season. We finished in the top 10. I know we're higher than that, but if you finish in the top 10, you've had a pretty good year. So we're feeling pretty good about our game. We got to win the first round to get to the second, no matter who we play, right? So that's key. What's really key about this is hockey in Florida. Like, what's the ramifications of this? One of the Florida teams is coming out of the first round and is going to get into middle. That's awesome for hockey in Florida. I think between the Panthers and the Lightning, they kind of work hard at it. They've built good youth programs. I mean, we play a exhibition game in Orlando, and we play each other a lot during exhibition. It's not just to save money; it's to get people excited about hockey. So it's a really good thing that we're playing each other. Yeah, we want to beat them. Can't get to the second round without beating them. For sure, they lost. I don't feel it the same. I didn't experience it, right? So it's a different thing for me. But there's going to be lots of energy. They feel good because we haven't beat them in the playoffs. We want to win because we haven't beat them in the playoffs. I'm just trying to fill the air at this point. Somebody help me. Throw me a rope.
When Bill came to you and presented this opportunity and said, we're going to change the way we play hockey here, and we want you to be the guy that make these changes,
Yeah.
how much of those talks, those 7 or 8 hours you spent with him, how often did that Lightning series come up as a catalyst for those changes?
Not from him. So the Florida Panthers, that first time they played was a hell of a series. So I would have watched that from a distance. I was coaching in the league at the time, and it was a great series, and it didn't go. And that's what's great and terrible about pro sports, because the Florida Panthers played a hell of a series. Like, they were good. Maybe if the series is good enough, then it's going to come down to 1 or 2 plays. Like, if it's a great series, if you can get it into Game 7 overtime, right? And that's when it's as good as it gets. And I think, I don't know if this is true or not. That's what I want out of this. So when the idea of me coaching down here wasn't the Tampa Bay series. What I was looking for is, I thought that Bill was so interesting in the way he presented his team and what he wanted to do. I thought he could make me better. I could learn from him. He could kind of push the right buttons. And the reason would be, is I really wanted to enjoy the job and I wanted to enjoy the game. And I'm going to do everything I can to really enjoy this series. It's new for me. So I'm excited about that newness. And it's going to be a hell of a series. At each position, both teams can champion a great player, goaltending, back-end guys, the center ice, the goal scorers, you know, it's just an awesome series of high-end talent and pretty determined. How many more questions? Because I think I'm just going to leave you with this idea. So we go into Tampa and we win 9-2. The first shot's going about 5.5 feet wide of the net, hits somebody in the ass cheek and goes in the net. And that was one of those games you see once every maybe 2 years. But they never quit playing. Like straight through that game, they never stopped playing.
Scored the last goal.
Right?
When it was 9-1.
And then we get down, what, 5-1 here? We never quit playing. So that's what this series is going to be. Neither team's going to quit. It's not going to be the score. It's going to be pride, fight. It's going to be an awesome series, and you know it. There's no quit in either room. It's going, like if we're all lucky, we can get it to 7 games in overtime, because that would be like all the juice you could handle for a hockey season in one series.